bidding
should.
song? What's that bidding song?
I don't know for sure.
So I want to welcome you all here, you faithful few, even in the middle of July, are willing to come spend some time with us and listening to us. And so if you would please stand, I will offer prayer. And Mr. Sukan, would you please lead the Pledge of Allegiance? So at this point is where I need a motion to amend the agenda for the addition of an executive session for the purpose of 742061A personnel.
Madam Chair, I make that.
Motion by Mr. Sukan, second by Mrs. Anderson. Roll call vote.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, yes. Then we will amend the agenda and add that. And we will, yes, we do. And we want to do that next. So why don't you all let us walk out real briefly? We'll go next door and then we will do this. Because it's not Okay. The next action item on our agenda is the consent agenda with the minutes of previous meetings, payment of bills, payroll and treasurer's reports, student body funds and activity reports, disposition of district property, which we really didn't have any this time, travel requests, we had one, and then the new personnel. Does anyone have any comments on those?
No, ma'am.
Hearing no comments or questions, the consent agenda is adopted by unanimous consent. Patron comments? Anybody made any? Any of you few people make any comments? Okay.
Speak now.
Did anyone have any comments on the administrator, department, or committee reports? I will make one comment, and that is I really liked the picture of the propane tank at Asequa.
I know it. I drive by there and
Yes, it's finally, now we just get it hooked up and it looks really good. So does the sidewalk at East. I specifically went and looked. Looks much better.
Yes.
West is tore out. I noticed. They started to
getting
do
close.
that. They're getting close. I noticed they were tearing
They did
out.
tear it out. I think, and they were putting frames in. I wouldn't be surprised
Cool.
if they poured in the next day or two.
Awesome, awesome.
Yes.
Ought to cure well in these temperatures.
Ooh.
Air conditioning went out at the clinic. It was no fun today. Any other comments or questions on any of the department or committee reports? Okay. We have no policies to discuss this month, so that helps make this quicker as well. Any questions for Mr. Ramsey on his superintendent report?
Nice and sweet. Woohoo.
It's awful short.
Are you feeling guilty?
I apologize. I'll try to work harder next month.
Yeah, I mean, it is August. We
It's summer.
expect.
It's summer. It's okay.
It's too hot to work hard right now.
Unless it's in the
Tomorrow
dunk
we're doing sod at the
tank.
high
Unless it's
school.
in the dunk tank, we'll be there.
Mm,
He does not want to sit on a dunk tank in order to get more community exposure.
What do
I
you
don't
think?
understand that.
I'll
Really?
do it, but I
Right?
ain't gonna like it.
I agree. We need to get in.
Who would not pay to do that?
Right?
I want to be like that clown at the state fair and heckle people.
Did we not put that in the job?
Call them girly men and your mom is somebody's girlfriend. And
Yeah, Carrie will be the first one in line to pay and
Oh, we can all go.
I can imagine.
Can we all go?
People have to vent somehow.
I want the biggest ball I can get, though. I want the biggest ball I can get.
okay. Any other comments? Business action items number A is the bus bids, which were totally and crazily scary.
Was there just one bid?
$123,000 for a
Yes,
71 passenger bus.
One bid. That was it. And it was gas. I guess
71 passenger 2024 Type C Bluebird BBCV 3310 school bus body mounted on a 2022 Bluebird chassis, powered by a Ford 7.3 liter V8 engine, gas engine. Emissions certified. $123,497.
What were they a year ago? 90?
A year ago, they were 109.
Really?
I was going to say, I remember.
And that was for
looking-
diesel.
And that,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that time that was for diesel.
So
Is availability good? Like we could.
No, availability the year and a half out.
They said it about a year out.
Oh, is that what it said?
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
Like all other
2024. So it's not even going to be a 2023,
Must be
2024.
The first gas ones you've had.
Yes. For a long time, yes.
Well, buy an electric car, it's cheap,
Yeah, that's this.
Well, we can tell you about the electric bus. Carrie and I rode on the electric bus when we was at the conference.
And
First of all, it was, we don't have the certifications to drive one right now.
Oh, you have to be specially certified for
Air
one?
brakes.
You have to have air brakes.
Oh, air brake certified.
None of our staff has air brakes to drive electric bus.
Gee, my CDL had one.
Yeah, we do, Lord.
Are they gutless?
So, I mean, she took notes for me. So, we toured around the whole city of Boise on this electric bus.
How many people on the bus? Quite a few.
There was about 7 or 8 of us at the conference. That was in our group that.
Gotcha.
We did it every 20 minutes.
Have you driven one of these that's equipped like the ones that you're gonna order?
The gas bus?
Mhm.
We have not. So, it'll be interesting.
So they said the charging stations were $20,000 for the electric buses,
Mm-hmm.
and then 5,000 per port off of those charging stations, and you can get 4 or 5 ports off of one charger. So you'd be looking at 40,000 for 4 buses. For everybody.
And do they mention the fact that there is no heat coming from the engine, therefore it's an electric heater within the bus itself that has to heat, which means it pulls from the batteries, which means they die faster.
Yep. So they can only run 138 miles per charge, and then if you run the heaters or you drive against the wind,
We
That's gut. It's like I said, it's gutless. They've got to be gutless.
Put a charger out at your place.
And
I'm lucky we have no wind or cold.
No.
the AM route would be fine, but right now where we're doing the double run in the afternoon,
Wouldn't work.
we never make it.
Mm-mm.
Oh,
We
well.
never make it on
Not without
Well-
chargers every so often. Hey, farmer.
Would it work in a situation like if we kept like the bus was just in Rupert, it just stayed in town?
It'd be close.
Be close.
Did they discuss the frequency with which one of the electric buses catches fire, combusts spontaneously?
They did not discuss that with the stone.
somebody else at the conference was talking about, and they're like, "We will never, because that is a huge liability. They go up."
Paris, France pulled every electric bus off of their system because they had several combust. And I watched a video of one of them. It was just sitting there, not a soul on it, and the roof just exploded. I thought that's why I won't vote to get an electric bus.
It's like Bluebird gasoline all the way.
But we did do our homework. We were asked to ride one of them. We were asked to ask a lot of questions, so we did.
And what was the cost? Just out of curiosity.
$430,000.
Mm-hmm.
Buy 2 gas buses for that. And 3 of them.
But I wonder what the ROI would be on fuel as far as paying one back. I mean, if it didn't combust, that is.
What's
Well, I can tell you that
Return on the investment. So how long it would take just by not paying for fuel? How long it would take to?
And how long? No heat. No.
Well, it would still have heat.
Yes,
Do the
the
batteries.
the
I'm not saying
government's
go down
pushing
the same.
electric and propane as alternatives to fossil fuels.
Sure.
We discussed and we think propane is a better fit for our school. So we're going to go forward with a grant application. If we qualify, my vision is the next time we buy buses, we use that grant money to pay part of the bill, reduce the cost on general fund or supplemental levy. Sorry.
I'm not opposed to alternative
I
things.
think
just
it's
think we got to do our due diligence to make sure
We
that it
have
would
to
work.
trade in some buses.
everything 2010 and older
Right.
has to be junked.
Mm-hmm.
And you cut a hole in the engine and scrap it.
Mm-hmm.
But I would suggest stripping all the
Fine.
light bulbs and lens covers and handles we can, and then drive
how
it up
many-
there and dump it.
pre-2010 do we have?
My email said 8.
8 to 10, I think.
Wow.
So you got some options as far as saving some money down the road. We just got to make sure we fill out our paperwork and stay qualified. Once you qualify, this bus ordering deal is such a train wreck. You're 2 or 3 years out on getting a propane bus.
Man,
So we have to start now in order to get one in 4
Well, we
years,
need to
5
get-
years.
On the
On the
approved
Yeah.
grantees list, and then we'll proceed. If we don't get on the list, then we'll buy 3 more gasoline buses next year.
How do we get on that list? Is it just a process we have to go through and apply? And
Yeah.
So I've been emailing Miss Jones and Miss Widmeyer and watching the webinars, and it's just a matter of your free and reduced rate and where you fit in the roster, and they take the top 50,
gotcha.
and then you go on. And then next year they'll do the next 50. But we just have to get our paperwork in place so that we are eligible.
And that's in by the 18th of August.
Yes, ma'am.
Part of the ROI on those depends on whether or not the cost of electricity goes up as well, because there are some cars that owners have figured out that with their raise in the cost of electricity, it's costing them the same to run an electric car as it is to run a gas car.
Right.
And what we were thinking is our 3 propane buses, we would go out to our bulk tank at a Sequa and get bulk price.
Makes sense.
And there's no discussion on that at all about the rare earth minerals that are going to the batteries or anything either. Okay. I would entertain a motion for acceptance of the bus bids as presented in the board book.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Anderson,
I say that we accept the bid for the bus, the one bid that came in.
for 3 buses.
For 3 buses.
One
But the
bus.
one bid that came
One
in.
bid.
One bid for the 3 buses that came for this,
Okay.
that was proposed to us.
Okay, motion by Mrs. Anderson. Do I hear a second? Second by Rick Parker. Any further comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
I,
Any opposed? Motion carries. We had presented last time, Dr. Smyer talked to us about the charter school closure, et cetera. Now we have to officially approve that closure and have it as part of our minutes. Does anyone have any comments or questions regarding this? This is just basically a final action.
Madam Chair, what I might mention is whatever funds that are left in the RTI coffers, when we close this, that money will automatically transfer to Minidoka schools.
Okay.
Because you were the
The host.
LEA, yes. And that was voted on by the board, RTEC board at the last meeting.
do you have any idea how much that might be?
I would have to ask Mr. Luna, you have some Albertson, we allowed some programs to make requests for some equipment, and they tried to zero out some budgets, but the Albertson money, I think, is still in that account. I can get that information and email it to
I
everybody.
just wondered if you
I
knew.
just wondered how much it was, so appreciate it. She
That's
asked that question, but I would entertain a motion for acceptance of this approval of charter school closure.
I move we approve the closure of charter school.
Okay, motion by Dr. Parker, second by Mr. Sukan. Comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
I,
Any opposed? Motion carries. So anyone have any questions about the approval to sponsor ISBA resolutions salary-based apportionment for classified employees? It's pretty good. It brings up a lot of valid points. I believe that it is something the state needs to look at to help us with our base funding. So that's my opinion. Anybody have any other comments or questions regarding it? Then I would entertain a motion for approval to sponsor ISBA resolution salary-based apportionment for classified employees.
Madam Chair, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Sukan,
Second.
second by Mr. Perez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next one, letter D, is approval of the district organizational chart. Are there any other comments or any comments or questions of this,
I don't have any.
other than there was the one question about it? Are we going to leave as is, or you wanted to talk about it at all?
no,
I thought that was on the handbook.
No, that was
no, it
That
was
was on
in the,
this?
it was on the,
this on this one.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay,
until we figure it out.
okay. All right. Any other comments or questions on this side? Then I would entertain a motion for approval of the district organizational chart.
I move we approve the district organizational chart.
Okay, motion by Dr. Mr. Parker. Second by Mr. Sukan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I might not make
I refuse to call you Parker. That's just not happening. But you deserve the doctor because you earned the doctorate. So I don't know what to do, even though you've never been called that many times.
Well, you still right, right?
I know. All right. Letter E is adoption of the state transportation manual. Did anyone have any comments or questions about that?
Boring.
Oh, I don't know how you guys live to read through that.
Very boring.
I don't envy
wow.
you for having to follow that transportation manual. That
Ooh.
is one boring piece of
That with all the handbooks was like
English. Anyway, anyone willing to make a motion to adopt the state transportation manual?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Sukan,
second.
second by Mrs. Anderson. Further comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'm not going to say that the state special education manual was any better, but did anyone have any comments or questions regarding that? This one's pretty much just something we do every year.
Yeah.
And it really hasn't changed very much from the first time I read it. So I would entertain a motion for adoption of the state special education manual.
I make that motion.
Motion by Mrs. Anderson,
Second.
second by Mr. Sukan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Student handbooks. Miss Anderson, I believe you said you had a couple questions or comments.
I do. On Mount Harrison's, you're welcome. I didn't. When it said welcome, there was only an E. There was no W on mine. I don't know. But anyway, unless it was just on my computer. I think we discussed the other ones, but I just had a few. Sequa's the snow days, and Hayburn was the emergency drills. Well, actually, all of the drills. I think they're supposed to be monthly. And Paul. Yep, they're supposed to be monthly at the schools, and not.
Yeah, it's cut off.
Is it cut off? I just wanted. Okay,
On
it wasn't
mine.
just me. Okay. Before it goes out, you might want to just fix that.
Yeah, it is.
Not being picky. I just thought, okay, maybe it's just my computer.
I'm sure I have a question. Are all of the handbooks available on each of the schools' websites?
I think so.
They're supposed to be.
Okay.
I'd say yes.
One
It
thing
might
that
be the district website.
one thing that might be a little easier with that is, and everyone followed suit except Minico and Hayburn are both in Word format. If they're going to be on the websites, if they were in PDFs, it would be a little bit easier to go through them.
To look through
So
them.
it might be something we consider.
Just some consistency in formatting.
Just easier when you're on the web.
Say that again, please.
So Hayburn and Minico's handbooks are in Word form document, and if they're just on their websites, if they were in PDF, they'd be a little bit easier to navigate.
Change to PDF.
And I can do that. They just sent me the word. I can.
Okay. Good.
And I can actually make the changes. I don't want to just do the headlights or the emergency. I can change it to monthly things, but I'm not going to touch the headlights or the emergency closure. Then you can look at how they go.
And if they're not available on the website, I would suggest that we do make them available on the websites.
Okay.
So
District website.
Yeah, whether it be the district or the own school's website, just somehow, some way. I know that they probably get sent home with the students at the beginning of the school year, but
They're supposed to sign them.
I know they are, but then you get into December and a parent has no idea what they did with that. And a question comes up on dress code or something, they can just go right to the website and access that.
So do we need to repeat everything I said in there so that it's on? So like Hayburn's
Has a list.
list, okay.
Motion.
I wrote down Hayburn, Sequa, Mount Harrison, and fire drills.
And Paul.
And Paul,
Oh, yes, Paul, it's on a different spot.
Just
Make a motion with
Those changes.
the changes mentioned in agenda review. And it's just for consistency, so you all know, it's just for consistency. If we're having fire drills, they need to be mentioned, not on occasion, it needs to be monthly, since that's what the law requires and things like that. That's part of one of the things we discussed.
So if it doesn't, if our handbook doesn't include the fire drills at the moment, do we need to add that?
Yes.
Yes.
I just wanna make sure.
Yep, it does.
Our handbook only states anything about fire drills.
Yeah.
I know we do it monthly, but
Right.
it's in us that we have to say that we do it monthly.
I had to say, in fact, I made a comment in agenda review how I appreciated West coming out with in their dress code, no trench coats or blankets. I thought that
I can't take credit for that because we actually had this is the first year we've had a student and parent and teacher and administrative committee that reviewed the handbook.
Oh.
So we reviewed it all together that week after school.
Yeah,
That's good.
that was
Really
good.
They had all that input right there.
Very interesting.
That's nice.
That's a good idea. Okay,
Question. What are we doing this year on emergency closure?
that's gonna be fixed as well.
Not the policy.
Not the policy. The policy remains the same. It's just that the handbooks do not say it the same in all of them. So if it's an emergency closure, there's no school. If it, like as the policy states.
If there's time to prepare, so if there's something that happens and there's time to prepare, then it will be online school. But say we wake up and there's 2 feet of snow and there's been no warning and teachers don't have time, there'll be no homework and no school.
Well, I just wondered because when I get clearing the heck out there and then they call over the radio and say, there's no school, take them back. That's why I was asking.
Mr. Ramsey will drive out there with you and help you with that.
Give me a call. I can wave.
According to Ms. Johnson, all of the school handbooks are on their websites.
Excellent.
But if they're on the website, then we gotta take them off, fix them, and then put them back.
Correct. That shouldn't be too difficult.
Done, I just checked, but West isn't, and that's only two schools I checked. I would guess that Ricky does it, but
Okay.
West is last year, Nico's already.
Okay.
So you can see them with those changes indicated, you let the principals know. And then when they're done, you're welcome to send them to me and I can put them in a file and send them to Brittany.
Okay.
If that's easier for her. I don't mind doing that. I wanna do that.
So then I'm ready to entertain a motion for approval of the student handbooks with the wording that you all need to.
I move we approve the student handbooks with corrected wording that we've discussed.
Okay, motion by Mr. Parker,
Second.
second by Mr. Sukan. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay,
Mr. Ramsey, do you want me to email the administrators with that information, or do you want to email them?
I'll email them in the morning before I go out to Minico.
And when you email them, will you be emailing them exactly how you want them by or stated, so that it's all stated the same for each of them, because that would be helpful. Oh.
so I guess you,
I'm just saying, then I won't get it wrong. No, I don't mind doing that at all.
Well, if everybody says it the same way, then they don't have
I
any.
mean, I know we already do it on Monday,
Conflict.
but it would be nice to be consistent. Yes,
and that's
I understand.
that's the point that
Yeah.
Mary caught, that they're stated
Because we didn't
differently.
have
So
fire in there, 'cause
Yeah, it just,
wet, but we
I just caught that emergency drills are periodic and fire drills, and it's like, no, I think fire drills are supposed to be once a month.
fire drills are.
So I just thought periodic, that's not going to fly. That shouldn't fly anyway. So
I
anyway,
would be happy to do that. That'd be great.
Okay, we are to new amended and deleted policies. All of the policies that are on here this time can be considered for passing at this point. They are clarifications or just minor things that have been changed within them.
There are some new ones.
Mhm.
The dyslexia one, but that is going to be Idaho law.
Yes.
And that the therapy dogs is new, but it just clarifies the difference between therapy and service dogs.
I have a question there. How many do we have in our district? Do we know?
Of which kind?
So I know Sequa's got.
Paul and Asequa have,
They lost one.
They lost
did.
one.
Sequa lost one. They got rid
So
of
they
one.
have one.
Well, they have
There's 6 dogs.
Yeah.
Does Paul have two or just one?
I'll have two. I don't know. I'm just asking. I knew Sequa had two. I know Minico had one.
Unico has one.
Mountain Harrison has
junior
just
high
one.
has one.
Just one.
No, Haven's got one.
So we've got 5 or 6 in our district.
It wasn't the doodle, was it? The doodle, the
It was-
doodle,
It was one. It was one of the. It was the black one.
The black.
The little
Doodle.
black one. No, that one
No.
is huh?
No, it was hit by a car. And
It was hit by a car.
Thank you.
Mm,
Yeah, it was really sad. The kids had a tough time with them.
yikes. Who was in charge of that dog?
It was a family member. I don't know, but it was sad. Anyway,
Anyway,
yes.
Just an off the wall comment. Do the therapy dogs cost the school district?
No, sir.
People do this on a volunteer basis.
Yes. Totally volunteer.
With our permission. They just have to meet the criteria for that dog to be on campus.
and that includes getting regular fecal things so that they cannot pass any zoonotic diseases that can go between animal and humans and things like that. So
I'm going to make a comment, and if it's allowed. I was out to a Sequa one day, and there was a little boy that was coming down the hall, and he was kicking, and he was not having it at school. He was having a horrible day, whatever. And the one, and I don't know, I think it was, I'm not sure which dog came, but anyway, the dog came around, and that little boy just dropped on the ground, and that dog went over, and that little boy hugged that dog, and it brought tears to my eyes. And he settled down, and within 15 minutes, he was back in the classroom. And I thought, I was sold.
Yeah, for sure.
You work for the district office.
Because that teacher was having a tough time getting that kid down the hall. And as soon as that dog went up to it, that's all it took. So
I can vouch for the power of animals. And I will bring you Gigi anytime you need her.
Oh, thank you.
We have a clinic cat that is a character. She climbs in my lap and she gives me hugs. It's not very often you have a cat that will do that. But anyway, that's why I told Carrie I'd give her to her sometime when she needs her.
oh, I'll bring that in.
She came to me when I was having a really bad day one day, and it was amazing. So, does anyone have any other comments or questions about any of these? If you don't want to pass them, we can hold them for second reading, but we could pass all of them at this point.
But it is still the first reading, right?
This is the first reading.
It is the first reading, yeah, but I'm gonna tell you, the longest you guys are gonna have a lot of policies.
Yeah, I know, I'm just wondering, cause like, as a teacher, when we know it's the first reading, we don't expect it to be necessarily passed. And it is summer, and I know that there's probably several teachers that have not, like in middle school, read middle school credits.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
She
Because it
ran
is
them
summer,
by,
and they're not
she
on
ran them
contract.
by all of the principals, but I don't know if they got it out to you guys.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, not all the teachers, or me who like carries stuff in her pocket all summer long, because they are off contract, so to speak, as far as that works in that when you pass something that's only been read one time without the rest of the staff knowing.
The middle school kind of, it wouldn't hurt to hold the middle
I'm
school
just
kind of.
thinking that they're gonna start back now looking at things more, cause it's
Cause they
getting
did have
towards
quite
the
a
end of July.
I noticed that the middle school did have quite a
The
bit in
middle
it.
school had quite a bit, but the others
Did you read
were
that
just kind of little bitty.
I did.
Well, and I
Just
know
like
I
didn't.
commented on it.
Nothing,
when I
well,
got so.
nothing
On
really
the middle
jumped out
school
at me,
kind
but
of?
I'm not a teacher either.
Is that one?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
don't
it came
know.
from ISBA.
Huh?
It came from ISBA, all those changes.
And that's also good for us to know that
No, those,
Where
all of
does
those
it get from?
changes.
from the Idaho State Board.
Yeah, most of the change. Yeah, ISBA does a policy service where they send us wordings,
Right.
and so sometimes that helps a lot. And usually we consider those they are based off of state law that might have changed or something like that.
But some of that, do they set minimum requirements? Versus
Mm,
you know what I'm saying?
Just whatever
No.
the law is.
It's whatever the law is, because there's two boards it goes through. It goes through, yeah, the attorneys and all of them, the two different boards, and then it comes down to us, from what I
I
understand.
think that all of them kind of leaves jurisdiction up to the district to set
We can.
other credits also.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to.
So does anyone have any comments or suggestions for what you would like to do with policies 1 through 8 today? Based on comments from our,
I guess it wouldn't hurt to hold.
Yeah.
I,
Hold them and vote on them next month.
Madam Chair, they'll be twice as thick next time, cause you got 10 or 12 more to add
I
to it.
know.
When you crawfish 1 month, it doubles the workload
I
for
like
next
that.
month.
I like that crawfish. How about if we do them all but the middle school?
I would be, my thought would, based on, I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Robin Freiberger.
Robin, based on Robin's comment that perhaps we should hold policy number 2
I agree.
for another reading, but I believe the rest of them,
Oh, but dyslexia one is by law. Yeah, the therapy dogs.
I didn't, I took that class.
All the others are pretty much
Yeah.
laws.
I took the class on the therapy dog at ISBA, and I knew this was coming.
What about the rehiring of teachers and administrators? Is that also law?
Mm-hmm.
mm-hmm.
All
Yes.
of that is,
I
yeah.
would say I would say that we'd hold number 2. So, Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we hold 7.2, but approve the rest of the policies as they are currently written.
Okay. So would you like, I will read this and you tell me if this is what you want to do.
Sounds good.
Wait a second. Let me turn mine and just clear the whole thing. We'll start with the program.
Okay.
Sorry.
So Mr. Perez's motion is to approve number 1, policy D222.00 English Learners Program, policy number 3, D309.00 supporting students with characteristics of dyslexia, number 4, policy D510.00 personnel hiring process and criteria, number 5, policy D539.00 therapy dogs in school, policy number 6, which is D542.60 employee tuition reimbursement. Number 7 is policy D587.00 rehiring teachers and administrators. And policy number 8, which is D806.00 activity busing. His motion is that we accept these at this point.
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Sukan. Any other comments or questions?
Can I make a comment before we?
Yes.
I would, on policy 7, if any of you read that, because we knew that this was coming down, I would just make it note that administrators and teachers read that, especially the administration, because that was definitely told to us. Remember?
Yes.
So that's the only comment I have.
Okay.
Administrators do need to read that.
Okay.
On 7.
And then you want policy 2 held for second reading.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
See, it's different.
That is also part of the motion that I didn't get to yet.
Oh,
So policy 272.00 middle school credits will be held for another reading as part of this motion. Okay, and Mr. Sukan has seconded this, and you're okay with that wording? Okay. All right. Any further comments or questions? And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. And is there any other business to come before the board? And then I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mrs. Anderson,
Second.
second by Mr. Sukan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you for your attendance.
Thank you.